This has got to be one of the most incredible and intense and most satisfying project I've ever built in a paper model. Presented the Scissoring Plane B-24H Liberator. Awesome model, let's begin. So here you see, it is actually 3 pages full of goodness, and it was called the Spotted Ass Ape. Beautiful. Let's begin first with the wings. I loved how it came out. I'm not going to lie, when I saw the 3 sheets, I thought, damn, this is a whole lot of build to do. But then, just like a journey of 1,000 miles, it begins with a single step. And here I started with the wings. And this here, what I'm doing now, is doing the trailing edge joiner. Doing it this way gives a much better aerofoil profile, and it looks much better than just joining the actual trailing edge with just glue. Here you see I'm cleaning up the tip of the wing. Nice. So we just get these out of the way. Now the spar, I cut a 1mm sheet cardstock, and that's what I'm gluing the engine mount, the actual wing spar, and the profile for the fuselage too. And this, you see, I'm using a nail file to get it done. Now let's tackle the most complicated part for me of the build, which is the engine. Here I'm cutting out the sections, and this was done particularly matching each engine nacelle with the wing. So that's why you see I'm pointing to that red spot. Of course, by now it becomes a habit to always paint the edge of the cardstock you're using. I'm cutting out the inner ring of the cowl in front, and this part now I will then paint. Good. Now we're going to form the engine, and it pays well to look at the internet and look up the 3D drawing of the model you're building. It really helps you to shape the thing properly. Here now you see I'm putting on the joining panel. I cut a thin strip of paper out. I'm going to now put the cowl in front onto that paper. This now will form the join panel. And you see how I slide it into place? Great. Now, once I lock everything up, I use my cake decorating tool. That's all I know it has. And to this now, I make sure merge and form the curve. And then we continue to just join the panel using that thin sheet of paper. The engine block now will also hold the profile of the engine shape. We just shimmy it in place. Nice. Once we get it there, we lock it up with some glue, and then we just finish up the rest of the engine panel. Lovely. Beautiful. Then we join the lower panel where the supercharger would be, and then we fit the engine in the correct place according to that red dot. It aligns well. Now let's put on the supercharger on the underside. It's just a simple cutout. I layered it. I put another sheet of paper that's glued on using the cake decorating tool again. I just form a slight bulge where the charger head would be, and then just glue into position. Nice. I really appreciate all the great comments I'm getting back, the feedback I'm getting. That one of the main reasons I'm doing this is to help, because there's no real instructions how to build it, and I thought this would be a great way. Here I'm putting in the trailing edge panel for the wheel well, and here you see how it formed and where it goes. Nice. I love when it comes together. Look at that. Beautiful. We just shimmy it into place. Now, the thing is that to make sure to reinforce the trailing edge, here I'm putting a scrap 120-gram sheet of paper to make sure the profile of the wing is held up. So let's join the wing to the fuselage center. Here I've cut out the fuselage panel and also the wing spar area, carefully aligning everything using the spots to cause the alignment to be proper. We're putting the joining panels, making sure to align those carefully also. So that's why you see I'm taking my time just trying to align the red spots and the blue spots in the paneling. It really helps in the end, trust me. And now we're going to add our wing spar. Once the wing spar is in, this is where now we're going to put our profile cardboard stocks in. This will retain the shape and give you the proper cross section of the fuselage. Then we simply join, looking at the profile that the wing give. We glue into place. Lovely. Just like that. And again, I have said it from get-go day one, invest in a great set of tweezers. It really helps. And here you see it's just slowly coming together really, really nicely. Now, the spar, I've decided to glue strips of paper. Reason being, I don't want it to print out when I attach the wings to it. Hence why I do that. To reinforce the wing, I then use toothpick to glue and guide the leading edge and the trailing edge, as you can see here, really nicely. And now we're going to join the wing to the center fuselage panel. Great care is taken, slide into place, not a rush job. And then using my brush handle, I'm just trying to press to reinforce it and just join. Repeat the process with the other wing, check the alignment, and ta-da! We have gotten our central fuselage and wing integrated. Then we just simply paint the panel edges and repeat the process with both the front and the rear fuselage panel. Check the alignments again with the spots and lock into place. And you know what? I'm really in love with how this model is coming out. It's really a beautiful model. Here you see I'm joining the forward fuselage that will hold the cockpit area, which is another area that we need to pay careful attention to. So in doing the main cockpit, you see I'm cutting out the panel. Before I joined it, I spent time painting those panels using silver watercolor paint and then coating it with gloss varnish. Here I'm putting the join on and sliding into place and just making sure that the panel remain in the proper profile with the cockpit. And there you go. The front, take our time, examine how to join it together. Then we say, okay, lock the bottom up. Using our toothpick, we roll the front, join this area, and pretty much that's it. Now be careful to check because there's a correction to it. So make sure that you're using the proper panel when you're doing this. I use an excessive amount of join tab to make sure retain the look of the front panel. Here you see I'm just showing you that I've added weight to the front because it will sit tail heavy with those massive tail and stabilizer. So I just put those weights in, which just happened to be anything I found to weigh the nose down. Here I'm putting in the joint tab for the rear of the fuselage that will hold the tail gunner. Well, for this particular model, the observer, because this one was retired from active service. And let's put in the stabilizer now. careful in cutting this part out. Make sure you paint all the edges. Use a steel rule or any ruler you have to form the leading edge profile, and we're going to join one part first. Now here you see I'm putting in a toothpick. This is to make sure for two things. One, strengthen the stabilizer as well as to guide it so that it's in the proper angles. And here you see I'm gluing to just make sure it matches the circles, and fix in place using super glue and paint. Let's do the fin. The fin now is in itself a work of art. After cutting the fin out, I said, okay, let's treat it the same way we did with the Propellers. We cut a slot in, then the same 1mm strip of cardstock I cut, and realized, okay, I need to make it a little thicker in terms of the cutout. I make a 90-degree and I ensure using the ruler to make that T structure. And the reason why I'm doing that is to make sure that the stabilizer will be 90 degrees to the fin. Here I'm putting in the join tab for the trailing edge, so it gives it a much more thicker body. We slide that in that we made, so it's going to be twofold. Once we join this, the trailing edge will look really thick for the fin, and there we get our 90-degree look. Let's talk about the wheel. Now, the original kit supplied a decent looking wheel, and I went, since I spent all this work, you know what, get our 1mm cardstock. I marked it out several times using a protractor, joined 4 of them together, and then I went to town. Once glued and I make sure it's tight enough with 4 of them, I then just lock it up and use a cheap Dremel-like tool to shape the wheel out of actual cardboard. Paint it up, let it dry for a bit, and then I cut out the axle for it and just glued it to the cardstock, and it seemed to work. Repeat to the other side, and then after I have the nose wheel and the tail wheel, put the nose wheel directly onto the fuselage. There we go. And then the detail for the strut for the main wheel, I use a 1.5mm solder wire. This is how I roll it out straight. Get a very thin strip of paper, roll the solder wire in it, and it seemed to form the landing gear strut quite well. Put the bend in, cut according to what's on the paper so I get the proper length, and paint with silver watercolor paint and glue into position. Now here's the thing, to glue strong and quickly, I used the actual super glue and the Aleene's tacky glue. It holds it in place and then bonds it really hard. Here, put on a main gear strut, and then to strengthen that joint, I cut out the strut panel, and that's what I use to help reinforce it. Now once that is in, I then went down the rabbit hole of, oh, there's more to it. Okay, let me add the strut that retracts it and the one that reinforces it. And this is based on looking at an Airfix model kit. And I went, yeah, that works. The front turret, well, it's a simple thing of rotating, joining, and then using a ballpoint tool to make sure retain the look of the front. Then the part what held the 50 caliber machine gun, I make sure cut, form, and then it slides right into place. Really felt good about how that turned out. Really decent. And just like what I did with the front, I did with the observation dome on the top. Cut that out. Use the cake decorating tool, and it came out really looking good. Right? We just slide into place. Here I've added the aerial at the leading edge. I'm not quite sure what they are for. You can let me know, because they just look like massive antennas for the B-24. And here we add them, really bring the model alive, and then we put in our top aerial. Okay, and you see I spent the time to shape it instead of just making it flat. It really helps and go a long way. Got that there, we add it, and make sure you put in that small mast behind it. The top turret, spend time to do it, and it came out really looking really good. Really proud of how this one turned out. You see I'm there forming it. I hope just looking at it you have an idea how to build it and to do yours. But yeah, this is how it came together for me. That's why I spent a little more time showing you what I did, and I hope that it will work for you when you try to build yours. Nice, look at that. And we just put that in place. Excellent. Great, look at that. The tail turret is the same thing. Looked it up for a while, tried to figure it out, and the closest I came up is with what you see here. And then just decide, let me just show the almost full build of how I do it. To make sure, bring it alive, we paint the edges, and of course, be a good friend and get yourself some cake decorating tool. Go to a bakery if you can find it. If you can't locate it, then learn to use the edge of your paintbrush, because that also can form great circles. And look around the house. You don't have to invest in cake decorating tool if you don't have it. You can find something that has a ballpoint edge, and that will work for you. I am painting the inside dark so that it will hide any reflection, and we just add the tail turret. Glue in place, check it carefully, works. Prop, the final thing to get done. I found, like, in cutting out this, I'm like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. We could use a toothpick, rotate it, shave down that toothpick, and we can roll it onto it. And just like that, ta-da, we have the perfect prop hub, and it works wonders. We cut out our prop blades, we join it, then after we secure it, we paint the edges. And that's pretty much it. You have yourself, finally, the B-24H. Spend the time carefully, don't align all the props perfectly, and we have our model. Just like that. Look at that beauty. Thank you so much for joining. If you like what you see so far, please consider like, subscribe, and special shout out to my Patreon members who make this all possible. Without you, I don't know how far I would have reached. So my friends, take care, walk good, relax, be gentle to yourself, and above all, one love.